Welcome to another moment of grace of living waters. Today, we're going to talk about change. Change is part of life. Change is something that's hard to get used to for some people and easy for others. But the reality is, life is change. Life is not concrete. It is always fluid. And very honestly, we're better off going with the flow than trying to go against the flow. Think about that when you're in the water. Going with it is a lot easier than going against it. So one of the platforms we're going to talk about today, one of the issues is using telemental health in mental health. And 2020 really brought that about, using telemental health and bringing it to the public, because the one-on-one just didn't work with the COVID. The issue for any therapist is trying to build a relationship with the person they're working with, and vice versa. Of course, it's a lot easier for most people when you don't have a screen in between you and the other person. But in this day and age, the way to go is with the screen, whether it be with Zoom, whether it be with Facebook, or sometimes just with the telephone. But this is the way to go in 2021. Having to talk through electronics. Now remember, God's a God of mercy, God's a God of love, and God is very mysterious, and He can even work in the mystery of electronics. So we're going to trust that God is in all of this change, that He's in all of this COVID, that He's in the whole world, and He's going to bring healing to you if you seek that healing, no matter what medium we're using for that healing. So go with it, really go with it. Go with using telemental health. Try and build that trusting relationship with your therapist, which is so important. Work with your therapist and allow your therapist to see you in your world. That's the difference. When you come to a therapist, you're seeing the therapist in their world much more so than vice versa. However, on a clinical level, the therapist can use your surroundings to learn a lot about you. So there's an advantage with this. You're bringing the therapist to your world. Disadvantage might be your world is so full at home that you might have to go into a car and talk to someone, which some of the people I work with do because they want the privacy. An advantage of telemental health, though, is you don't have to leave wherever you are and stay in traffic to get to where you need to be and to talk to the clinician. You can be wherever you are and just open up your Zoom and talk to the person you're working with. Another advantage on a clinical level is the therapist can see who's part of your world, who's part of your surroundings. What are boundaries like? What aren't boundaries like? And they can be issues like if somebody's always knocking on your door when you're on your session, the therapist will help you to set boundaries so that people will understand that sometimes you need some privacy. And that's a good thing. Lots of times I personally, and so do the other clinicians, see the pets you have. Not just a picture of the pet, but the pet right there with you. And that can be very telling also, how you talk to the pet, what you do with the pet. So there's a lot of subtle gifts in having telemental health. There are subtle gifts. To the most experienced person, though, recognize that there might be frustrations at times, and that just comes with the territory. The electronics sometimes can be very frustrating, and we just go with the frustration, which can also turn into a gift because, believe it or not, then the clinician can know, how do you deal with frustration? And guess what? You can learn how your therapist deals with frustration and either use that as a model to grow or say, boy, I don't want to be like them. So there are gifts in everything and pros and cons in everything. But the most important thing in all of this is please go with it. Give it a try. And as I always say, one try is not enough. A rule of thumb most of the time is at least 6 tries before you say, this isn't going to work for me. This isn't going to work, because there's an adjustment time that we have to go through with all of this. So it's just like anything else in life. Life is change. God is good. God doesn't change. We change. You just look in a mirror and you're going to see how you change. Take a picture of yourself and look back 10 years ago and there's a change there, that's for sure. And so just be okay with the changes. And that is a hallmark of a stable emotional psyche, going with the changes. And I know all of us want to get to that place because that's the place God created us to be. Very stable within our emotions, very stable within our faith, very stable with our intellect, and stable with our bodies. So we at Living Waters really, really urge you to give it a try, see how it goes, and recognize that at Living Waters we're open to any suggestions you might have and open to any learning curve you might have with this. And we really appreciate it. Insurance companies are covering this. At Living Waters we do accept most insurances, which is a big blessing. And we want to help you to get to the place where you feel whole and back to the person God created you to be before all time. Thank you for listening. Good to be with you. God bless.